The Arizona governor just vetoed an anti-squatting bill. I don't care where you live. This should piss you off. All these other states are starting to pass legislature to protect homeowners. And in Arizona, they're vetoing bills that make sense.
Governor Katie Hobbs has vetoed another 10 measures, including a bill that would have set up new rules to deal with squatters.
Now, I don't want to hear from the Arizona governor on why she decided to do this. I want to hear from a common sense governor who's passing some pretty kick-ass bills that I'm proud to live in his state. So let's hear what he has to say.
If and buts were candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas.
Come on, Ron, you're making me look stupid.
I think it's all going to work out, and I think it'll be good. But I do think it underscores a larger issue of the places around this country that have embraced the more ideological approach to law enforcement, that basically people just get let out, get rid of cash bail, go easy on repeat offenders, don't take property crimes seriously. The governor of Arizona just vetoed a bill that we signed here in Florida so that these squatters could be ejected. What kind of a message does that send, that you're saying you can squat in somebody's house and basically they got to go through a 6-month process? So we've seen a lot of bad ideas be implemented.
Guys, this is ridiculous. If you own a home, that is your house. I don't care what anybody says. What's going on is these squatters, illegal aliens, homeless people breaking in to people's houses. And when these homeowners go and try and reclaim their property, the state is telling them, and the police force are saying, that's a civil matter. You're going to have to go to court over that to get your house back, because the state views these squatters as tenants. And guess what? Tenants have rights, which they should. Those tenant rights were enacted because of landlords. So the tenants should have the rights, but should the squatters? How would you feel if you went home after a vacation and someone else was living in it, and the police said there's nothing we can do about it? Let's say it's in California. You need to go to court, and it could take you 1 year to get these people out of your home. How would that feel? I would be pretty pissed off. Not to mention, you don't have control of your own home. You still have to pay the mortgage and all the utilities associated with it. And you have to figure out where you're gonna live for the next year. I bet you never thought of that, did you? A year you're gonna have to live somewhere, man. I started investing in apartment units between 5 to 20 units because I never wanted to work a job I hated again. If you wanna learn how to do it too, click the link below this video. Now, let's get back to it. So move in with the in-laws if you can, or you better have some really good friends who are gonna let you hang it out on the couch. And if you got some kids, a dog, man, where else are you gonna live for a year? Let's jump back to the video.
We know what works. We know Florida's crime rate's at a 50-year low. We know that our retail theft is actually down since I've been governor, but yet we just did great legislation to hold these folks accountable. You should be able to go to the pharmacy and be able to grab deodorant off the shelf without that being behind plexiglass. You know, this should not be Fort Knox, but yet that's what they have to.
That's what blew my mind. I didn't realize that, but in California, New York, some different places like this, they're locking up deodorant, toothpaste, things like that, because people can go in and steal items up to $1,000. Once they hit the $1,000, I believe then it becomes a felony, but anything below that is a misdemeanor, and no one really is holding these people accountable. That blew my mind.
To do, because people just go in and they loot the stores. That happens because of a weak approach to law and order, and we have a strong approach to law and order. I don't think people have a right, even if you're elected, to just say there's certain laws you don't like, and you're going to go. You're not going to be prosecuting. Maybe somebody is young, so you're just not going to prosecute them for that. That's not what the legislature has implemented in this state. And so you have a duty to uphold the law as it's written. You don't have the right hijack the law, to go on some ideological joyride and do whatever you want. You take.
The biggest thing we're missing in the United States today, people, is accountability. Why is there no more accountability? I know when I was young, if I made a mistake, I had to pay the price. And believe me, I paid a lot of prices. I was pretty stupid when I was young, but I didn't blame anybody, and I still don't today. It was all my fault, and I learned from it, and I grew from it, right? It's called growing up. But if there is no accountability, you run into problems like this.
You take an oath to apply that law, and we do in the state. I mean, we enforce them. Could there be laws that are on the books that I would tweak? Like, sure, if I had a magic wand, but that's not the way it works. So we as the state, I think, are the best state for law and order. You look at what happened with spring break in Miami Beach. I told the mayor, I said, don't let this happen again. He's a new mayor, and he's like, don't worry, this is important to me. We've got a plan. And I was like, we'll give you whatever resources you need. So they had a plan. We provided support. And all the businesses are saying it was the best spring break they've ever had, because not only would you have unruly crowds, you'd have property damage. There'd be people. I talked to a fella down there who's got a restaurant, great restaurant, and people would just storm in. They'd eat, they'd leave without paying. It just was mayhem. And that's not what we want to promote in Florida. We want people to have a good time, we want people to enjoy, but we don't want, mobs to just run the streets. And so you did it. And now everybody's looking back and say, wow, minimal disruption. Anyone that got out of line was held accountable. And it just set a culture. You actually had a lot fewer arrests this year than in the previous two, because people knew what the rules were and they understood what was going to happen. You look at what we've done by holding people accountable. Again, that's that accountability. I think Uncle Ron's doing a great job with that. I love living in the state of Florida. We just moved here a year ago from Michigan, and I'll tell you what, I love waking up and hearing, guess what? We passed some more common sense laws here in Florida. That's awesome, and that's one of the biggest perks I've had living here, because on a lot of these laws, the Democrats and Republicans came together and passed these laws. And that's what I love seeing, and that's why I think Ron's doing a great job. One thing though, Ron, let me know the name of that restaurant, man. If I'm in Miami, I want to get something good to eat. You could have plugged that restaurant. Trying to come to this country, our state, illegally. We just interdicted like another 40 Haitians illegally coming, and there were human smugglers on the boat. We stopped them. They're not on the shores of Florida. They got stopped and they got sent back. And so people now, and I think one of the reasons you haven't seen an influx of vessels from Haiti since you've had everything really go, I mean, it's always been problematic, but it's gone south even more in the last couple months, is because people know, why would you want to get in some boat, chart for the Florida Keys, knowing you're going to get stopped, turn around, and sent back to where you came from? It's not worth it. It's not worth doing. If that was the attitude for our southern border, we'd be much better off, because people would know, it's probably not a smart idea to pay some coyote $6,000 to get me to the border if all that's going to be happen is I'm going to be sent back anyways. You would see the numbers decline. But what they do, they know if they just get here, they get a free pass going in to this country, and that's wrong. Do you ever wonder why when you fly, you have to show your license or your passport, you have to take your shoes off, you have to walk through the metal detector, or if you're TSA approved, you have to go down, get fingerprinted, they ask you all of these questions, right? When you fly, they want to know who you are, where you're going, what you have with you, and your stuff goes through the metal detector. When you cross the border, none of that happens. You're just about welcomed in. They give you a plane ticket, and you can go just about anywhere you want in the country, and you're invited in. Seems a little odd, doesn't it? So it's all about doing what works. The law enforcement folks have had my support. You remember when people were talking about defunding the police in 2020? You remember those BLM riots? We didn't allow that in Florida. We said, no, you're going to be held accountable. We did not turn our backs on law enforcement like many elected officials did at the time. And what's been the result of that? People are flooding into Florida from NYPD, from Illinois, from California. In fact, we've done over 400 new police officers coming to Florida, state, local, and municipal agencies since we did our $5,000 bonus program from just New York, Illinois, and California. So these are folks that...
Who wouldn't want to come to Florida? That's awesome. I love that they're giving the police bonuses to come here. It's an amazing place to live. I mean, it's sunshine every day. Why wouldn't you want to come here? And when you have a governor supporting you like that for police officers, I think it's amazing. That is one job I don't think I would want to do in this day and age, is be a police officer. It's not like it used to be, and they don't get the respect they deserve. So if you are a police officer, man, you're doing a great job. Appreciate you. Come to Florida. Ron DeSantis wants you here.
Had jobs, probably most of them have families, and that they pick up and move here to do it because they know they have the support of the community. And that makes a huge difference. It makes you safer when they feel like they can do their jobs appropriately. You think about what happened when you have these Hamas demonstrators out. They're taking over bridges and they're taking over roads. And first of all, you don't have a right to do that. You have someone get stuck in traffic. How do you know if someone may need to get to a hospital? Someone may need to pick up a child somewhere, and you're just going to commandeer the road because you have this ideological predilection. They tried to do that in Miami, and what happened? In 10 minutes, they got dragged off the road where they belonged, and we're not going to tolerate that. You look at
Uncle Ron laying it down.
You look at these universities. When we have students who are doing things that, I mean, look, some of the stuff with the Hamas, I think is absurd that someone would go out and demonstrate on that. But, you know, when you're chasing Jewish students around, when you're not letting a Jewish professor enter a building, when you're targeting people like that, that's not free speech. I mean, that's harassment. That violates appropriate conduct. And yet, at Columbia, at Yale, all these places, those folks rule the roost. They do whatever they want. And these administrators and the presidents of these universities are weak. They're scared, and they don't do anything. You know, you do that in Florida at our universities, we're showing you the door. You're going to be expelled when you're doing that stuff. And you know what? The minute people start to face consequences, you are not going to see this nonsense going on. So I think the approach is very important. We know the approach that these prosecutors have taken in San Francisco, Chicago, Baltimore has failed. And of all the actions you can take, the suspension in Hillsborough and in Orange counties with those state attorneys, you talk to law enforcement on the ground, lives have been saved because we have people in there now who take the law seriously and put the protection of the public above their personal political agenda. And that makes a huge difference, and we're going to continue to stand for law and order. Thanks, everybody.
This is why I love living in Florida. The Arizona governor needs to step up and stop protecting squatters' rights and start passing some more common sense laws like Florida. You want to see what else Governor DeSantis did in Florida? Check out this video about anti-squatters and the laws he's passing here in Florida. I'm Grant Warrington. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you in this video.